she shall be praised. That is a promise. That's a promise that is given here in the book of Proverbs in chapter 31, that the virtuous wife, she will be praised. And we start Proverbs chapter 31, beginning in verse 10. Now, it was just read to us, but we have some things to say about it. Okay, so verse 10, who can find a virtuous wife, for her worth is far above rubies. Okay, so it starts with a question. Who can find a virtuous wife? All right, that does not imply an impossibility, as though it is a myth, the myth of the virtuous wife. It means something entirely different. One, yes, there are those who are virtuous, but it also means that there may be some that don't have any virtue at all, that they are in fact virtueless. But her worth is far above rubies. What made her worth that? It is her virtue that did that. Her virtue gave her that worth. And here is the beginning of this section, that if we go back to verse 1, 31 verse 1, that these are the words of King Lemuel, and we really don't know who that is. Some have speculated that is another name for Solomon, that like a pen name, or someone gave him that name. But these aren't actually his words. These are the words of King Lemuel. Then it says, the utterance which his mother taught him. His mother taught him these things. After just 9 verses there concerning being a king and justice, and that strong drink, wine and the like, are not for kings whatsoever, because it's going to pervert justice, that here we have this question concerning the virtuous wife. Now we come to verse 11. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. Why does he trust her? Because she's trustworthy, and she earns that every day. She earns that. Someone who may have earned your trust, someone may have earned your trust in the past and suddenly has done something to break that trust, well, they don't earn it today. We'll just say that. They have, in fact, destroyed it. But here is her heart, the heart of her husband safely trusts her because she has earned it. She's worthy of trust. And there is safety in her, because this is not her as a servant. It's not her as a slave to her husband. It's the two of them together and the family that they have together. That belongs to them. But the fact of the matter is, she is essential. And she is the very heart of the home. We'll get to that in just a bit. But her home has no lack of gain. And this shows her part in it, because she does play a part in this. And now, we just going with this whole idea of her husband safely trusts her. Now let's look at a few couples here. We have Potiphar's wife. Potiphar trusted his wife. You look at Genesis 39, 19 through 20, she gives him a story. Boom, he believes her. It's a lie, but he believes her. She's not trustworthy. All we have to do is see what she was up to, and still chapter 39, but beginning in verse 7 to 12, we see what she was doing. She was not trustworthy at all. Did Potiphar ever come to that realization? Well, we don't know. I would say probably at some point she did something and she was caught. But I don't know. I haven't the foggiest idea. But here we have almost the opposite in this, is that we have Abigail. Abigail was virtuous, but Nabal doesn't want virtue. Oh, sure, as much as it would be an advantage to him, he wants it out of her. But when he wants it dropped, Or she's not to be virtuous at all. She's to be the error that he wants her to be. And in fact, she saved Nabal's life. Nabal would have died by the hands of David, as well as the other men in that household. They would have all died, except that Abigail saved them, because she was the one out of the two of them that showed some virtue. She was the one that did it, even when he wouldn't. Now, this brings us to a point that neither husband nor wife have the authority over the other to, in fact, overrule God in their lives. To say, nope, you're not going to be this, you're not going to follow God, you're going to follow this. Nobody has that authority. This is the marriage, or I should say marriage, is not a relationship where it is master-slave, regardless how you want to do it. Husband is master or wife is master. That has never been the case, regardless of how some who want to destroy the home would want it pictured. Now, no, we need to get here. Okay. We have Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab was wicked, and as he says, that really the true prophet of Jehovah had nothing good to say about him. All right, that's Ahab saying that. And I think a lot of others would have said it too. Yeah, nobody really has a whole lot of good to say about you. But his wife Jezebel was wicked. And together they had a Jim Dandy sort of home. It was a home without righteousness, a home without good. It was a godless home. And what did they get out of that? They get Athaliah, who was exceedingly wicked. That's their daughter. She goes and she's killing her grandkids so that she can rule. That's coming much, much later in time. Then we have, let's go with good example, we have Zechariah and Elizabeth. Zechariah was virtuous. This is Luke chapter 1. Elizabeth was virtuous too. We see them both being described in verses 5 and 6, and their son is John the Baptist. We also have this of Boaz and Ruth. Once again, Boaz is virtuous because we have what Ruth says about him in Ruth 2 and 10. And note, you have the book is named after her. It is her story. And that this is what Ruth says about Boaz. And that Ruth was also virtuous. And then Boaz repeats what people are saying about Ruth. That's in 2 and verse 11. And they are the great grandparents of David. They have a descendant that is going to be the most righteous king that Israel ever had until we get to Christ. The most righteous king. And here is the thing. Neither Boaz nor Ruth would live long enough to see that. But the good that they did went all the way. It went down the line to a king. A king they would never know. A king they would never see. They didn't live long enough. But their influence continued. And therein is something we need to understand. There are certain folks, they want all the limelight. They want everyone knowing what they have done. They want a gigantic splash and never really think of anything beyond themselves, anything beyond their life that maybe their influence does something greater. Well, you know, if it's beyond their life here on the earth, they can't soak in the adulation. But that's not what we're supposed to do anyway. We're doing this, we're supposed to be doing this by way of love and goodness and selflessness. And here is something that this couple would never see, but their influence continued on. That is very, very powerful. Now we come back to Proverbs chapter 31, verse 12, she does him good and not evil all the days of her life. That's why he trusts her. That is why. And this is also why everyone can trust her. This would be everyone, all of her children, anyone associated with the family, anyone associated with her. They can, in fact, trust her because she does good and not evil all the days of her life. This is lifelong. This is a positive record. This is a lifetime of being trustworthy. This is every day, every year, whether it is easy or whether it's in hardship. All of this is nothing but dedication. Always being there, and everyone benefits. Her children benefit, and of course her husband benefits. Her entire home benefit from her. Now, do not think that somehow everything rests on her and her husband is a do-nothing. Because all you have to do, while we're not covering that verse, we see where she has married a good man. Or you have a Ruth that marries a Boaz. Boaz is a good man, and she realizes that. We also have someone, a wicked, such as Ahab, who marries a Jezebel. Ahab's bad as he is. He's bad already. But she brings gasoline to the fire. All right? She makes things worse. And there are prophets who died because of them. Innocent people died because of them. Now, she does him good. And yes, this concerns her, not him. He does her good as well, if we need to bring that in. But everyone benefits from her. Now, we just want to look at these verses by way of a list. This is verses 13 to 27, where you have a list of her attributes, a list of her works, of her decisions. And this is just quickly summing it up. We've already mentioned trustworthy, does good always. Her entire life she has done that. She's industrious. She has personal initiative, meaning she doesn't have somebody telling her what to do. She knows what to do and she does it. She knows what she's supposed to be doing. She does what it takes to care for her family. She's not lazy. She's kind to her employees. She knows value. She is prudent, grows strong, and we're going to see in just a minute, she can't have strength or honor without virtue. That's impossible. She grows strong. Now this would be physically strong, yes, but also she is spiritually strong. She is also emotionally strong. She is one that can carry a lot when she needs to. She is tireless, has skills, and develops more. She is generous to the poor. She has foresight and planning, married a good man. She knew who she was marrying, and she married him. Years ago, it was a young lady, and she was talking to her. She happened to be in my company, and she was on the cell phone talking to her fiancé. And then she got off the phone, and I said, "How is?" and his name, and because I was curious, how's he doing? And then the first word she said is, "Oh, he's an idiot." So, and you want to marry him is my first thought. Okay, you want to marry him, and you see him as an idiot. This may not go well here. This may not go well. Maybe there's someone better out there than him. And actually in time, yes, she did find someone better than him. But just the idea that I can, when we get married, I can improve him. There's no guarantee in that. There's no guarantee in that at all. Just because there's now a marriage doesn't mean that suddenly he changes to the ideal, to your ideal. It doesn't mean that. He's still very much a person with his own mind, as you are, as she was a person with her own mind. All right? Now we come down. She is patient, and she is patiently working for something better. Patiently working. She is wise and speaks it. She speaks wisdom. She is diligent. She's watchful in her home. She is not neglectful. And here is the one that brings it all in line. You can't have these others without this last one. She fears the Lord. You can't have that virtuous wife without that one. Fears the Lord. And this is a summation of some things. Now, we come to verse 25. And we have these words. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. Without virtue, there can't be strength and honor. They go together. It is a package deal. You can't say you have honor and you have strength and there is no virtue there. Someone who is ungodly may think themselves courageous with the ungodly things they say and say publicly, and they have no shame about it. Or that's not courage. That's the effects of corruption. That's not courage. That's just being brazen, is all that is. That's just being one who is trying to corrupt others. There's no courage there. Here is a challenge. Try to build a house with nothing but rotten wood and see how well it goes. Corruption is not going to show any kind of strength. It's going to be nothing but weakness. It's going to be weakness from within. And here is, she shall rejoice in time to come. Today may be a bad day. Today things may be difficult, but love drives her on. Years ago, I remember when our children were very small, and I came home and one look is all it took. One look to see that Catrice was having a very bad day, that things were not going well with these diaper-wearing people in our house. They weren't going well. And I could see, okay, this has been a difficult day. I wasn't here, but she didn't give up. And that's the thing. Love drives her on. That's what that diligent and virtuous wife does. She's also not just a virtuous wife. If she has children, she's now a virtuous mother. And there is a great result in her steady love. She will rejoice in time. That is a promise. There will be that time when the difficult points are over, and guess what? She's stronger. That's the whole thing concerning strength and honor, is going through the difficult times. And yes, they are difficult, but she gets stronger through them. Strength and honor are there for those who are willing to do this. And by the way, strength and honor are her clothing. That is the last metaphor in the book of Proverbs, in case you wanted to know that. It wasn't too long ago we were studying, was last year, we were studying the book of Proverbs. Now, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. Here is the counsel of the wise. She has wisdom, she has kindness, she has law. She has these things. And it is that law of kindness. One may think law of kindness as being permissive. It's not. It's not. Law of kindness is not permissive of I can allow this just to continue on. It doesn't mean that at all. A law of kindness is a patience that is there. It is a forbearance. It is a long suffering that is there. That is the kindness of it, but the law doesn't bend. The law is still there. Just allowing a child to, yep, you're going to make mistakes. Let's learn from that mistake. Let's learn from that. And here is this true counsel of the wise that is, I'll tell you this, I know for a fact, no one had a greater impact on me than my mom. I mean, that's just the way it is. While I definitely was influenced by my father, no doubt. But it was her. It was her being that heart of the home. Now, she watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Vigilance, diligence, mindfulness, all of this. And we have Proverbs 27:23. While this particular proverb, 27:23, deals with kings, and it does, and you can know that from the following verses. This can be applied to her as well. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. That has very little to do with literal sheep. It has to do with people under your charge, people under your care. People, and as far as the king is concerned, that is people that he must protect, and that there must be law and order there. I'm applying it now into the home of that she is diligent. She watches over the ways of her household. She knows what's going on. She knows what needs to be done. And she is going to be attentive to all of that. We have in Amos 6, verse 4 through 6. I'm not going to read the whole thing or quote the whole thing. It speaks of those who lie on beds of ivory and stretch out on your couches. That's just lounging. That's not attentive. That's just luxuriating. That's not attentive. That's idleness. That's not attentive. Let everything just fall apart. I'm going to stay on my couch. Let everything just go to pieces. I'm going to stay on. I have a bed of ivory. Why would I get off this thing? All right. And so we have now verse 28. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Yes, there are difficult days, but there's the result. The result of some hard days, there's a result in all of that. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Her home has been blessed by her. She is that heart of the home, as we have been stating. Love is at the center of her actions, and she receives praise from the ones that matter. How many famous people or celebrities, or even others you may know, that aren't really known by too many others, where it is others that praise them for their work, praise them for performance, praise them for something that they have done, but their family doesn't even know them. Their children don't even know who they are. I remember seeing it was an interview with a child of a rather famous man in his day, and she said, I hardly ever saw him. Now, we are talking about mothers and not fathers today, but we are talking about being attentive and being there at the home and receiving praise where it matters the most. It doesn't matter what some critics think. It doesn't matter what people at work think. It doesn't matter what the masses think. What about your family? What do they think? Do you get praise from them? Because that's where it truly matters. And God, that's where it truly matters. And we're going to see that in just a second. Many daughters have done well, verse 29, but you excel them all. This is the virtuous woman excels. Others have done well. That would be those before you and those concurrent, those living at the same time. Many have done well, but it's the virtuous woman that excels. And her children and her husband have just said, in the previous verse, children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. She has left an impact on people and the people in her life. She has done that. She has set up an example that they clearly see. And I was told years and years ago that a child who is raised in a moral household, a good household, is someone who grows up, and it will be easier for them to live that way because they have seen it. They've seen what it is. They don't have a misunderstanding of how people should behave. They've witnessed it day in and day out as they were growing up. I once knew a lady that she told, it was a group of us, she said, I never really knew what a good home should be like until I left the home I grew up in. It wasn't like that. She didn't know there could be peace in a home. She didn't know that because evidently there wasn't any. She had no idea what a good home even looked like until she left the one of her parents. Now, what kind of example is that? Well, it's not a very good one. But she did recognize goodness and embrace it. That is true. But here you have this virtuous woman who is leaving good things, and it is in the wake of her life. And a wake can be very good, as in this case, or a wake may be a terrible thing, like with Ahab and Jezebel. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. Okay, so we go from the first in this, charm is deceitful. Yeah, it can be used to manipulate. It can be used as an advantage. And we have beauty is passing. Well, that's going to be temporary. All this is going to be temporary. Proverbs 1:22, as a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a lovely woman who lacks discretion. Add the gold ring to the swine. Did you improve the swine? No, you really didn't. You can load that thing up with all kinds of beautiful jewelry, and you didn't change the swine. You didn't at all. Charm is deceitful, and it can be used to gain advantage over people. It can be used that way, but that's not good. A woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. That means she is praised by God. And above all else, she fears the Lord. And we started the book of Proverbs with that in chapter 1, verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of everything that is good. Someone that is an atheist tosses the idea of God away, now lives in a moral vacuum, or so they think they do, of where they can live however they want to live. There is no, and we were talking about this just Wednesday morning with a quote from an atheist, of live however you want to live. There is no God, there is no law of God, there is no eternal punishment, there's none of those things. Therefore, do whatever you want to do. Okay, someone who fears the Lord knows differently. Someone who fears the Lord knows that whatever I do on this earth, I'm going to be judged by that, and I better be mindful of it. Begin to control myself. The fear of the Lord brings the best life, and she will be praised by God. Verse 31, give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gate. This is the result of life, and this positive bit here is the result of the book of Proverbs, as a matter of fact. It's the result of Proverbs. But her children praise her, her husband praises her, works praise her, the things that she has done. Her God praises her. And here we have that give her the fruit of her hands, or that would go to anybody. That would go to anybody. That there comes a point of, here is what you created in your lifetime. This is from your actions in your lifetime. And here is the end result of those works, of those actions, of that heart, of that attitude. Everything comes now to this final result, to this final judgment. Whatever that fruit is, there you receive it. You receive it. Give her the fruit of her hands as it is in all this. Those works praise her in the gates. The highest sort of praise is from God. That's the highest sort. And most certainly, He does praise the one who is virtuous. He does praise that person. And here is that promise. She shall be praised. God never promised anybody that this life was going to be easy. He never promised anybody that all was just going to be a breeze and a cakewalk, that everything is going to be absolutely perfect every day. We can look and see where the Son of God was scourged, beaten, humiliated, ridiculed, crucified, and died for us. We can see others such as Stephen or Antipas, as we have in Revelation chapter 2. Martyrs. There are hardships. There are difficult times. But in those difficult times, we can grow stronger and shall be praised. Shall be praised. This is not a sermon that one would say is evangelistic, but it is one of encouragement. It is one showing that God watches all of us, every single one of us, and what He anticipates from us, what He expects out of us, and that there is a responsibility to be upheld. This morning, let's look at our lives. Where are we? Are you ready to have your life judged? If not, let's make corrections as need be. How much time do you have? You're not guaranteed anything. You were never guaranteed this long, but here we are, blessed by God, and here to do whatever needs to be done to make ourselves right before Him. The words are for our learning and to have faith developed in them that they are in fact from God, that the Bible is the Word of God and it applies to us. And learning from that and in faith from that, that we are to repent of our sins, confess a faith that Jesus is the Christ, and have our sins taken away from us, washed away by the very act of baptism. And it is believers' baptism, knowing what it is to do, knowing what it is for, and in full faith doing it. This morning, if you need to respond to the invitation, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.